In this video, we'll go over the basics of publishing your story map and how to get back into your story map after you've saved it and closed out. So at this time, we're going to take a look at the story map. When it is in draft form and it's never been published, you'll see an orange space up here that says draft. And along the way, it's going to say save or saved. If I want to publish it, there are several options that I can choose. The first option is only that I can view this story. That means that even if I give you the URL, you cannot see my story. If I share this with my organization, people within my organization, which in this case would be William and Mary, would be able to view the story. It means that you have to have a login and you have to be able to have access to that login to do that particular sharing. So this might be a good option if you don't want to share it out publicly with the world, but you do want to share the link with your instructor. The next one is to share it out to everyone in the world. You want to show off your masterpiece. You've been thinking, you've been creating, you've collected all of this multimedia and you have your masterpiece ready and you want to share it with your best friend or your grandparent or your mentor. Or you want to share it with an organization that you have been volunteering with and you just want to show them what you've done with their data. In this, once you click everyone, anyone can view the story as long as they have the URL. One of the other options that might occur is that your instructor may have placed you in a group in ArcGIS Online. So for example, in spring 2020, there was an Anthropology 201 class that they could share by keeping it private, and they shared only within the group. There are many, many groups that one might belong to, but until you're invited into that group or request to see that group, you won't be able to share it with the group. So in my case, I'm using mine as a scenario where I might use it as part of a application process. Maybe I want them to see my CV, but I want them to start with my teaching philosophy and also showing my skills in creating maps and websites through a story map. Once I click publish, what it's going to do is it's going to go through and it's going to find all of the parts and pieces of the story map and make sure that there are no problems. If there's a problem, it will show up. Every time I edit it, it will actually change the date on and update the date. So in this case, I've had to redo some videos, and so I've updated this to June 29th, 2020. This URL that's right up here is where my story map is located. But if you notice, I can share this on Facebook, I can share this on Twitter, and I have a copy the story URL. I often will encourage students to make public their stories unless it's something that they really don't want to share. It may be too private to themselves, or it may be something that they want someone to edit it before they go through. Please note that the copy the story URL, so it's been copied to my clipboard, you may not find that same option if you publish your story only to your organization. Inside of that, it assumes that others in your organization will be looking for your story map. So once it's published, you'll notice that those links are no longer there. It has the ability to turn on an autoplay or to print the story map. You can also add it to a favorite or remove it from a favorite. And what that does is in your original story maps location, you'll be able to see it with a star on it. So it makes it one that you've made stand out. If you want to make sure that it is published as public and you do want to use that URL, make sure that you copy the URL each time. It should not change, but just in case it does, you want to make sure that with all of these numbers that is there. All right, so I'm copying out my story URL. I'm going to paste it here. Notice that it creates a tiny URL that starts with arcg.is, and then it's a very small URL. And when I click on it, it will redirect to my story map. Now, because I own it, it will continue to say edit story. For someone who does not own this story map, this will not be visible to them. And that tiny URL is the one that you will want to share with your instructor. Otherwise, you can copy this URL. It just happens to make a nice small URL for you that you can send out across social media or other websites, or even through email. In the last video of this series, I'm going to show you a few more resources that are available to you when creating story maps.